great conference opener, and we're really looking forward to obviously a very tough game in Starkville against a Mississippi State football team that's very, very good, very talented. 7 returning starters on defense, arguably, with guys with a lot of experience, a very experienced offensive line, a great host of receivers and tailbacks, very talented guys in the return game. Jonathan Banks back there is a punt returner. And so this is a very talented team, very well coached. As you know, it's going to be a very physical game in Starkville, and we're looking forward to a great challenge. I know that I want to address a couple of players that I know I'll get asked about. Jay Prosh is back in school today. He's going to be in school today and tomorrow. Arrangements, obviously, for his mother's funeral is going to be on Thursday at some point, so he'll get home Thursday. This is the way he wanted to do it. I'm very proud of him for the way he's handled it. It's a very tough time, but he's going to be here today and tomorrow, go home for the funeral on Thursday, and he will be playing in the game Saturday, as well as Reese Dismukes will be playing in the game Saturday as well. So I just want to get those out on the table before you ask about it.
Question?
So is Reese back in as a starter, or is he just going to be dressed?
Well, we're going to wait and see how the week unfolds, and we'll make that determination later in the week.
How has he handled the situation? Obviously, pretty well since he's back in the fold.
Well, as I said before, you know, without going into details, when we feel like he's done the things that we've asked him to do, and we're comfortable with that, then you know, you'd see him back on the field. You know, our main thing with all of our student athletes is to make sure that we're giving them a chance to succeed. So we have a very comprehensive plan overall moving forward, so that Reese can go in a positive direction. And so that plan is going to be ongoing, and it's one that we feel very comfortable with. But he's done all we've asked him to do, and he will continue, again, in this comprehensive plan to do what we need him to do to move forward in a positive direction.
Is D'Angelo still suspended?
Yes, if his status changes, his status has not changed, so if it changes, I'll let you know.
Is he practicing with the team?
Yes.
Do you anticipate any new faces on the field other than possibly Reese?
You know, there's ongoing competitions everywhere, Phil, and that's, you know, again, we've had one game to evaluate what we thought were our starters in game 1, and we expect a lot of improvement from game 1 to game 2. Along with that, there's still going to be challenges for positions and guys that, you know, again, as we move forward in the season, if their production level is not up to our standards and expectations, then, you know, if there's a guy behind them that's challenging for a spot, then those spots will certainly be open. But, you know, again, we saw a lot of room for improvement as we broke the film down. And so there's a lot of guys got to up their level of play.
How did Jay play in his first Auburn game Saturday?
Jay did well. Obviously, he's like the rest of our team. You know, there's great room for improvement for him. But overall, for his first game in this offense, doing, you know, things that he needs to do to help us win, you know, he was about on level with everybody else. You know, did some nice things and did some things that we certainly need to improve at.
Are Threezy and Enrique Florence, are they ready to play if needed?
Again, you know, those are guys that right now are in backup spots and backup roles, but going back to what we just talked about, if you're in a backup role, you're still challenging for a position. And so both of those guys are in a position where, you know, they need to keep working and challenging for them.
Well, there's nothing to keep them from being able to play it.
I know it could be difficult maybe a game week, but is there any plans for the team to go down the Mobile?
Well, we're trying to work through those, and again, you know, we've got to do, or the family's got to do, you know, what they have to do in terms of time frames and things of that nature. So we're really trying to work through the details to see exactly what we can and can't do. So that's kind of a work in progress right now.
Talk about the rivalry that's built up with Mississippi State over the last couple of years. Close games come down to the end. Just what is it about this team, these two teams, when they play each other?
Well, you know, the last the last two games have been extremely tough. And, you know, I think rivalries in our league, I think they're already there, you know, but I think the result of the last two games has certainly made this a very interesting matchup. You know, obviously we're both on the same side, you know, in the West. And this is a team that, you know, has continuously improved over the last 3 years. And, you know, we were able to edge them out 2 years in a row. I know that by looking at just the front end of their schedule, I'm sure that this game has been circled on their calendar for a long time. Not that other ones haven't been, but, you know, this is certainly a game that I'm sure that is very important to them, as it is us, at the beginning of the year to win. So it's become, you can call it a rival if you want to. I think that, again, if you're in the league, they're pretty much all rivalries. But I think just by the nature of the way the game's unfolded the last 2 years, that it certainly made it, you know, interesting for fans, for sure.
Could you talk a little bit about, you talked about Banks, Jonathan Banks as a return man, that they do have some experience with guys in playmakers in secondary and everything. Have those guys impressed you?
They really have. You know, you got Broomfield back there that I think they've kind of moved back to a safety position. You got Jonathan Banks. I think, you know, on defense, you're really looking at 7 returning starters. One of the strengths of their defense is certainly their secondary. They've got playmakers back there. They're aggressive. They hit. They run. They make plays with the ball in the air. You know, Jonathan Banks probably could have came out if he wanted to. You know what I mean? He chose to come back. I mean, he's that good. And but so is Broomfield and some of the other guys back there. But again, I think their secondary overall is definitely a strong point of their defense. Not that their linebackers, you know, and a couple of their defensive linemen that are returning aren't. You know, when you have 7 guys returning on defense, that's a good thing. So, but they're very sound and they're very good at what they do.
Coach, because of, you know, there's always a fine line each week, focusing on the opponent and focusing on yourself as a team to get better. But because there's so much room for improvement after that first one, the approach a little different than normal after a first game and gearing up for a second game?
Well, I think we've done a really thorough job of assessing, you know, all of the issues from last Saturday night that we feel they're very fixable. And again, you've got some guys that were playing for the first time in critical positions. But you know, even, you know, if you just look at, you just take the defense, you know, just missed big opportunities at opportune times where plays have to be made. Same thing offensively, but we've made a very thorough assessment and evaluation of those things. And so you incorporate that into your practice time as you're preparing, you know, for the next opponent. You don't just go out there and say it never happened. You know, of course, yesterday we spent some time cleaning up Saturday's issues. And we'll continue to clean those up as the week goes on, but, you know, preparation for your opponent obviously is, you know, at a premium for the week. So it's really everything. You got to get it all done in a week.
Can you talk about what you guys can do in a week to improve the tackling?
Well, we can tackle. That'll help. And, you know, I think it's the way we approach the ball. I think that, you know, it's not like we don't work on tackling. We've got to approach the ball better. We've got to be in better tackling positions. You know, I think, and this is going to sound crazy, but getting yourself off the field on third downs and not playing 90-something plays in the game makes you better tacklers late in the game when you're playing 65 plays instead of 95. So, again, I think it's a comprehensive look at why, you know, why we weren't, you know, tackling well. And again, some of them happened earlier in the game, some of them happened late in the game. But, you know, the bottom line is approaching the ball, approaching the ball carrier, everybody coming at the right angles, nobody stopping when you think the guy may be down, and finishing the tackle. I think those are all issues that not only we have addressed, but we'll continue to address this week.
Can you just talk about the way Jonathan Jones played on special teams? He was everything Boulware was expecting.
Jonathan Jones is going to be a really, really good player here if he'll continue on the path that he's on. He's extremely conscientious in everything that he does, no matter what job or no matter what role you give him. You know, he takes it very seriously, and he, you know, it's very important to him. He's a very talented, gifted young man, you know, one of the best hurdlers in the country in AAU. You know, he's fast, he's a football player, and I think it's showing up. And again, we're going to continue to utilize him and some of the other young guys, you know, on our special teams. But he showed up Saturday, and we expect him to continue to show up. And we're going to give him bigger roles as he moves forward. But I really like him as a football player. He's a great young man, and he's, you know, he's going to get better. He's going to improve.
Just Avery Young out there for the first time, and just talk about how he did it, how he handled all that.
You know, I'll tell you, he got put in a tough spot, and I'm really proud of him the way he handled it. You know, we talked yesterday, him and I, a good bit, you know, and he was just talking about, you know, what a relief it is to have your first game under your belt, and now you know what to expect. So he's got a better idea of how to prepare for the week. He's got a better idea of what to expect on game day, how to approach game day, what it's like on Friday night before your game, mentally getting prepared. You know, I just think there's a lot of first-time things in there for a young 18-year-old young man to deal with when, you know, you're asking him to go out there and do a man's job in a man's league, and he's 18 at that position. That's very critical. But, you know, good case in point for him is, you know, on the touchdown pass to Emory Blake, not many people probably see it, but he gives a great second effort to finish off, you know, a guy that really could have impeded the quarterback's throw, and he picked him at the last minute on a great effort play. We showed it to the team, because here was a young guy that was really just trying to figure everything out, but yet he was still really giving really good effort. And it was a key block on that most people probably didn't see. But he's got a lot of room for improvement. He knows that, but I think there's a lot of value in it for him to have that first start under his belt, like several others.
Gene, how important is it to get other receivers involved in the offense, not just Emory and Lutz?
I think it's very important. You know, I think that we've got to develop a trust that our other receivers are capable of making plays. We had several attempts to other guys that, you know, for no reason of necessarily anybody in particular, you know, there wasn't very much production other than those two. But we have confidence in our other guys. We got to get them the ball, and they've got to show that on game day right now that they can do something with the ball in their hands. We know Phillip can, we know Emory can, and you know, we got to get Quan Bray and Trevon Reed. You know, Trevon had a great opportunity to make a huge play in the back of the end zone. You know, and our point to him was, you know, you got to have that field presence and field awareness of knowing where you're at, and you got to make that. That's a touchdown. You got to make that play. He knows that, and those are, I think, the things that our receivers need to improve at in terms of field presence and making plays. And but we feel confident that they can and will, but they've got to do it on game day.
Is it hard because those guys haven't made plays in the past? It's just been seriously those two. I mean, Trevon and Quan have had opportunities, but is it kind of, you got to have some success to continue that success?
Well, I mean, it's not like we're saying that if you don't have more success, we're not throwing you the ball. I mean, that's not it at all, because they work really hard in practice, and they do well in practice. Again, but it's going to be important moving forward that we develop some trust on game day and who's going to make those plays. Not that we have not developed the trust, but again, we got a lot of games left, so those guys, and you guys have asked that before, those guys have to step up, and they got to make plays when they get opportunities in the game. They got to step up and make those plays.
How would you assess the offensive line? You talked about Avery, just the way the offensive line played overall in that guy.
Well, I think it was a good first game in terms of being productive, running the ball. I felt like our pass protection, there was too much leakage in there with our pass protection, particularly in the 2-minute at the end of the game to go down and win the game. Our 2-minute offense, I thought, was below average. And, you know, again, I think a lot of that was protection. And, but it wasn't just protection. You know, it was everybody. It was routes being run, it was quarterback decisions, it was protection in the 2 minutes. But overall, very happy that we have a good starting point with a lot to learn from and a lot of great teaching moments for our offensive line for the first time that they've been together on game day. And I think that we can all see that there's a very good future for those guys if they'll continue to improve. And I think they feel that. I feel like they think, I think they're very confident right now that they see, you know, when it was mediocre, why. And I think they see a great future as well moving forward. That's going to require a lot of work. But overall, good starting point, not great, but we'll continue to improve.
Gene, having played a team like you played, at this point, do you think that that's better for you moving forward than if you had played an overmatched team that you might have beaten by 40 points and not found out some of the things you found out?
I really enjoyed the game, Philip. I'm speaking not just for me. I'm talking about our whole football team, coaches and players. I think we all enjoyed the game. And I think that there's a lot of value in playing somebody that early in the season that is that good. That football team's going to win a lot of games. Well, I mean, they're the defending ACC champions. So I think it's very good for our team to, you know, open with a team like that because, again, I think you get exposed in terms of deficiencies. I think it's glaring. A little different than if you don't play that caliber of team, that you get exposed the next game. And I think it was glaring. And I think that yesterday, as we met as a team and we went through, you know, the game, it was very glaring to our team on where the improvement needed to be made or improvements need to be made. So I think there's a lot of value in that. And is it more than, you know, another team, you know, that's maybe not as good? You know, again, I think there's a lot of value in playing a very good team and getting exposed in areas that really tell you the truth. And we got a lot of truth told to us Saturday night. And so, you know, in big picture terms, I think that's a good thing.
When you've got as much teachable moments to work on, you know, just a week before your SEC opener, how do you go about balancing the time with also trying to game plan for road SEC?
Well, I think we talked about that earlier. I think that's the exact question earlier, that, you know, you've got to spend the right amount of time addressing the things that you know you need to improve at, but you also got to move on and prepare for a very good football team that offensively can be different than, you know, a lot of different teams. So you got to balance the time out, but, you know, again, you can't neglect what happened in the game that you know you got to fix. And again, like I said a little while ago, we addressed that a good bit yesterday, and we'll continue to do that throughout the week as we, you know, as we prepare.
Anything else?
I believe in the tape.